little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Reveal your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you. And I still trip over my feet. And my heart's still scared.
Ignition sequence start.
I'm such a lucky guy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Thanks for listening in at spacedoutradio.com, on Spreaker, and on Revolution Radio as we welcome you to tonight's show as we broadcast live out of Uncle Jimbo's cabin right here in the Great White North, live on this Friday night, early Saturday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we do this thing every night of the week. Why? We get asked that a lot. It's because we want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the ghostly, the paranormal, spiritual, ufological, and so much more. If you like our music, the guitar god Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, is the man behind our music. Bumblefoot is the official sound of SOR. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Find us on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio Show. You can listen to us on TuneIn, download our shows from iTunes, and of course our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time we say hello, how are you, to everyone taking part in the Revolution Radio chat room on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans on Facebook at Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers. Have you signed up for the SOR Space Travelers Club yet? No? Well, it's time. It's only $5 a month, and with that, your name gets entered into monthly prize draws. You get access to private group interviews, access to a special section on our website, and much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. While on our website, you can read up on our latest blogs, check out Eric Markham's SOR Spacewire for your latest and weird news, and if you've had an unbelievable experience, click on the SOR Sightlines Report. Fill it out, and we'll have a researcher contact you ASAP. Our researcher, Mike Schmidt, is waiting for you to fill out a report. Doesn't matter if it's paranormal, Bigfoot, Dogman, aliens, UFOs, gremlins, or even them damn ceramic garden gnomes that I hate so much. All your information is 100% confidential. Remember, if you're a listener on the Double R machine, Revolution Radio is the largest non-profit online radio station going today. Do us a favor. Take the time to visit freedomslips.com and donate today. Tonight, I'm expecting a lot of fun. As we step into the field of ghost hunting as we draw closer to Halloween, we want to end the week on a haunted note. But my guests tonight, well, they've actually kind of been preparing for a couple of hours. Drinking red wine, eating homemade piggies in a blanket, and carving pumpkins in their pajamas. Hell, they didn't invite a single one of us. I'm a little pissed off with that, but that's okay. You know, there are so many different teams of paranormal groups out there just trying to find their niche in the field. That makes it difficult to find a new concept and a new search for answers when it comes to dealing with the dead. Respect for those who have passed, but decided to stick around should always be of the utmost importance. And that's why Annaliesje, Renee, and Ellen do, as they have kicked off their new group, Haunted Sleepovers. These ladies may be gorgeous on the outside, but inside it's a real passion for the hunt. It's not about them. That's what I like about these ladies. They are there trying to tell the stories of those left behind through every ghostly experience. Based out of Portland, Oregon, their investigative research begins and ends with the Shanghai tunnels. Looking into the history of those wretched tunnels and the buildings that connect them are a history lesson all on their own. So let's bring in the crew from Haunted Sleepovers. Annaliesje, how are you?
How are you?
I am good. I've got a good pair of socks on today, so I'm pretty excited.
Well, you heard about the Northwest. We're having a little bit of a storm going on.
Yes, and it's happening right up the West Coast here into British Columbia as well. So, for everyone who's affected, if by chance that we lose power or lose connection with these three ladies, what we are going to do is we're going to try and get them back. If not, well, what the hell? We're going to have to continue the show anyways, but there is a major windstorm and rainstorm happening here on the West Coast from British Columbia all the way down through Oregon State, and it's remnants of a typhoon that was happening in the Pacific Ocean. The winds are supposed to get up to 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. It is nasty out there. That's why I'm glad I live at top of the mountain.
Yeah,
I'll take the blizzard anytime.
To ask Renee how she got here.
Well, I'm sure it was like Frogger dodging trees and cars and everything like that.
It was actually almost like swimming.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Okay, ladies, I'm going to get you to cuddle on in a little bit more towards the phone as we have Annaliesje, Renee, and Ellen from Haunted Sleepovers here. Now, you ladies have been preparing for this for a long time because I'm kind of honored. You're a brand new group out of Portland, Oregon, and here you've decided to allow Spaced Out Radio to be your first media public appearance. And I have to say thank you for that.
Well, this is Annaliesje, by the way. I've always been your number one fan for a couple of years now. And I remember when we met, you were interviewing Michael P. Jones of Shanghai Tunnels at the time, and you and I met through there. And I love the way you conduct your interviews. I love your questions. I feel that you can really make people talk, and everybody's interested, engaged. And it meant a lot to me to tell you about our group. This is the number one radio for me, and I was very excited when you agreed to interview us. It was an honor for me and for all of us here at Haunted Sleepovers. Oh, goodness.
You ladies are going to give me an ego. Just an ego. Seriously. Just an ego coming around. But that's okay. I appreciate the sentiment. I really do. We try and do things the right way around here, and I'm glad to see and say that reputation seems to be going around a little bit here, because the one thing that I have learned about this field is there's not a lot of journalistic integrity out there. So that's what we try and provide, is to give people, especially our listeners, that option in order to have these topics of the alternative media out there on a very, very good tone. So thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't know how really to answer that, so I hope that one works.
You did good, Dave. You did
thank
good.
you. Thank you. So anyways, we're going to be talking some ghostly adventures with you ladies tonight. And at first, right off the bat, what I want to do here is I would like our audience to get to know you. So, Ellen, we'll start with you if you don't mind, because you're the blonde of the group.
Okay. The only blonde of the group.
Exactly. What I would love for you to tell us is a little bit about your history. What gets you into the paranormal? What got you to this stage?
When I was 10 years old, my family took over the family farm that had been purchased with the original Homestead Act, and it had never left the family. I guess it got transferred over. And we started doing the remodel, and that started, I guess, stirring things up. And I was at that prime age. I was 10. And that's when you're either going to keep seeing them or stop seeing them. And I saw my grandpa at the top of the stairs in my bedroom when I was 11. And it kind of all went from there. The house was the pivotal point for me. But then when I was in my freshman year of college, I was a journalism student. And I worked on saving a state hospital that was the last one from that architect, and it had some pretty sketchy history. And I was the first psychic to go in to the tunnels there and explore before they renovated it.
Well, that's really cool. So, Ellen, when you say that you had experiences since a youngster, were you always a believer in this? Did you always believe that there were spirits and ghosts or the living dead on the other side?
Yeah, that's kind of mandatory when you're raised Irish.
Well, I'm sure you pound back a few Guinnesses as well, too. Good on you for that, young lady.
It's Jameson.
Wow. And just get right to the heavy stuff right off the bat. Good for you. Good for you. Renee,
Yeah.
Let's bring you in here because you're the only Renee of the group.
That's true.
No, it's totally true. I would like you to explain to us how you got involved with the paranormal. Was it a personal experience or was just a keen interest?
Actually, several personal experiences starting at a very young age. I would have sensations in different areas when I would go into places that had paranormal activity. Sometimes I would have a vision, or I would just kind of get different senses of cold off of objects. So that kind of got me started and interested in the whole process. I'm actually kind of new to the group and this whole experience, so I'm really looking forward to what Annaliesje and Ellen can teach me. Yeah, so I've always been a believer, and I'm here to engage and report and hopefully share with the audience the history of my beautiful city of Portland, Oregon.
And Annaliesje, are you happy that I'm actually pronouncing your name correctly?
I know everybody butchers it.
I know.
Everybody.
I know. It's because I have perfected flirtation to the point where I am anal about names now. So, Annaliesje, I met you once again through the Shanghai tunnels when I had Michael on the air a number of months back, and that was just a fantastic interview. I really didn't know how that one was going to play out, but it was such a stellar conversation that him and I had. And you know, when I'm researching, and how I found the Shanghai tunnels is when I'm researching topics for this show, I try and take it that step further. Okay, a lot of people will say, well, let's talk to this group or that group or that group. I want to know the stories, the hidden stories behind the cities that maybe aren't really well known. And so that's how I got to know you, as you had kind of stated. We've chatted off and on and kind of built this paranormal friendship online in regards to it. So I'm glad you brought these ladies together. Now, you have been a ghost hunter for quite a while. You have you've been on television, you've had your own teams put together. What got you seriously involved with the paranormal?
Well, a number of things. It all really started at an older age. I wasn't extremely young. I was just out of high school. I was still living with my mom, and she had this huge paranormal experience. My mom is Indonesian. She's the kind of lady that she doesn't complain very much. She doesn't, you know what I mean? She's outgoing, but she doesn't, she's a protector. She protects her children and her family. She doesn't say much, We had just moved into this house, and it was actually not an old house. It was from the 80s. And she said that when we would leave to school or leave, the door would slam shut in her bedroom, and she would hear these voices. And it went on for about 3 months, and my mom got really tired of it. So, we're a Catholic family. So she went to her, the father of our church at the time, and he had told her, well, all you need to do is pray, say, in the name of Jesus Christ, I want you out of my house. So it happened again. We left, the door closed, and my mom started hearing these voices, and she closed her eyes and she said, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I want you out of my house." And all of a sudden she heard screaming. It was so loud that she said her ears felt like they were going to burst. She heard the screaming. She said her door flew open, and she heard little voices low to the bed go out one by one, and it never happened again. So when my mom had told me that story years after that, she actually never told me that story until years later. And I asked her, "Why didn't you tell me? I mean, how could how could this happen? You never said anything." And she said that she didn't want to worry us kids. But she said that, all you have to do is you have to have faith, and you have to believe in yourself. And, everybody has their way of protection, but that is how she did it. And so after that, after she had told me that, I just got really, really interested in the paranormal. When I moved to Portland, I joined a group at the time called Trails and Paranormal. I was an investigator for them for a while, and I was introduced to the Shanghai tunnels and being a volunteer, and I started doing that. And then I actually applied. They had this contest for ghost hunters. It was actually called Ghost Hunters Academy, if you remember that, on Sci-Fi.
Yes.
And there was a contest. My friends dared me. They said, "Okay, you gotta try for it." So what we were supposed to do is we were supposed to send in a picture and say a little bit of something about us. And so I sent a picture, and all I said is, "I'm a dental assistant that ghosty hunts," is all I said. And they called me. And I had to do all these things for this producer. I didn't get it, obviously. But after that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to, start up my own paranormal group, and I did. And so I did some ghost hunting with that, and that didn't kind of work out the way I wanted it. And I kind of gave up on the whole group paranormal thing. Just with the years of being around it, I've just seen a lot of things I don't like. And there's no secret. You probably know too. There's a lot of groups out there that bicker and fight, or it's a very competitive field. It's very either, somebody doesn't agree with you and you're wrong, or maybe they don't have the same beliefs that you do. And it causes a lot of, bickering, and it's really sad. So I kind of said, I thought to myself, I'm never doing this again. I don't want to be involved in that. And so I quit actually being an investigator for quite a few years, probably about 3 years. And I stayed with Shanghai Tunnels, and we have our own investigation team called Project Ghost. So I stayed pretty much involved in that and became a tour guide. And I met Ellen right here next to me. She was actually a volunteer as well, and we were talked to Michael about it and said, "Hey, let's try this again, but let's have a different spin to it. Let's make it more about history and learning about the history and trying to make a difference in saving buildings and being for community, being a volunteer. It's not just about ghost hunting or being a paranormal investigator. I mean, that is part of it, but it's more for history. Get the word out there." And then with Renee, I worked with Renee at an office for a while, and we've been friends for over a year. And, she heard about this, and she was like, "I want in. I want this." And it's a perfect group. There's no BS. Everybody's honest. Everybody wants the same things. I'm very excited. I don't think I've been this excited in a very long time. And we're ready. We're ready to get out there and do some investigating and researching. So we're pretty excited about it. So that's kind of my big thing. I kind of over-talked, but I guess that's how it is sometimes.
Well, we can allow that to go because we only have 2 hours and 40 minutes left with you ladies. So we might have a minute or two for you to speak one-on-one. Let's talk about the group for a little bit here because, Renee, as you're the newcomer to the paranormal field, you shared stories with Annaliesje. You were able to hear, as you were co-workers, some of the intriguing and intense stories that she had. Did that kind of light the fire underneath you where you're like, you know what? I want to see what's out there. I need to find more proof of what is going on.
Yeah, that had a lot to do with it. I mean, she has shared with me a lot of her experiences, and some of them are kind of a little frightening, I'll be honest. And I wasn't so into those, but that's kind of all part of the deal, right? I think for me personally, what I was really interested in was, again, the history and being able to share the story of what might be out there with the public and to preserve that history and tell the story of the individuals that might still be hanging around with us, and in that also be able to hopefully restore some of our buildings in Portland and maintain some of our historical parks and cemeteries and really show the value of what that has to offer to people. And I just really want people to remember and to be able to know what this city is all about, as well as, I think that we're also looking at going into some other areas and being able to accurately tell the stories and the histories of the other areas as well. So historically, that's very important to me, and also the paranormal aspect of it. Yes, I'm very curious about it. I actually haven't really investigated to the extent that they have, so they have a lot of stuff to teach me, and I'm a good student, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, the one thing that I think you're very lucky in, Renee, is the fact that you have two experienced investigators with you.
Absolutely.
who can really take you through the tutoring and the mentoring in learning how to communicate with the spirits in the right way, because believe it or not, a lot of people may not understand this. There is a right way and a wrong way of doing this. But when you go into the field, do you still get the jitters? Do you still get the shivers or the shakes because you're a little bit nervous of what's going on, or are you beyond that point as a rookie right now?
I think it would depend on the circumstance, to be honest with you. I think there's definitely some energies out there that give me the shakes. I've run into those on more than one occasion in my life. But overall, it's not a fear. So I'm actually very curious, and I'm looking forward to it. We've talked a lot about how we're going to protect ourselves. So that's one aspect that we're really trying to focus on, and how to protect our own beings and our families and our homes, so that we're not drawing that energy into us that's going to cause any problems for our personal lives or our families. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm a little nervous about stuff, but overall I'm just really excited about it. So, yeah.
I guess one of the other things I'd like to ask you, Renee, before we move on to Ellen here is, when you have Annaliesje and Ellen with you, they've been through the trenches in regards to the drama and the ego that seems to surround this field for God knows why. And if I could ever figure out why people feel they need to be an asshole in this field, maybe I'll retire. I just don't know. Because to me, it's the biggest crock as to why someone would have an attitude regarding this. But you're very lucky right now because they've already had to deal with that, and you haven't. So to be able to learn the what not to do's from two people who have been through that, that's got to be a real thumbs up from you and a very kind gift from them.
It is, very much so. They're good to me. I'm very fortunate. I don't have to deal with it. And there's assholes everywhere. So what can we say? It doesn't matter what you go into. But, yeah, I'm very lucky to have their guidance and their experience. And, they know the field very well. So I'm very fortunate. Looking forward to working with these ladies. Yay!
Ellen, we bring you back in here for a couple of moments here. Okay, that's enough. We'll move on. No, I'm kidding. Ellen, when you and Annaliesje decided to put this group together, how important was it, and how long did you spend talking about putting this group together?
An hour over drinks.
Seriously, that's how
Yep.
it was.
It was after doing the tunnels one night. We were at Hobo's out in the courtyard, and we were having drinks, and we were telling all the stories about every perv we've worked with in this field and how we just wanted to not work with perverts in this field, and so we came up with the idea.
Well, that's being blunt. That just eliminated about 92% of the men and about 6% of the women in the paranormal field. And I understand that. We laugh about that because there is, and I've talked to other people about this, there is a hell of a lot of sexism when it comes to the paranormal. We see it on TV where, the woman is always the psychic, or, the one who gets freaked out. You know what I'm saying? It's not a real testament to the fact that there are some very strong and talented female investigators out there, Ellen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's true. When I was in my late teens, I worked with a group, and I realized very fast it was not a authentic group. It was, let's get a bunch of the professors from the college to go watch Ellen ghost hunt and walk behind her kind of situation. And so after that, I started being more cautious with who I went ghost hunting with. I've had experiences where people have shown up drunk ghost hunting. That's, it's so disrespectful, or just any length of, problems that we've experienced in our time. It's kind of the same concept. Would you do that at your grandma's house? No, then don't do it in a cemetery. I don't know. There's just general etiquette that gets ignored sometimes in this field.
And that's a tough part of this field. As we mentioned, the egos and the attitudes that seem to be in this field, it really is unattractive. And for me, Annaliesje, I'm curious what your opinion is on this, because for me, what I see as someone who is in the fringe media doing this on a nightly basis, I tend to think that it's that attitude, that ego, that quest that just doesn't have any answers as to why they're investigating is the main reason why the mainstream does not take the paranormal very seriously. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are what you just said. You kind of hit the nail on the head. Am I saying that right in English? Okay, good. Yeah, that's why I quit for so long, is I was so tired of the ego. It's just like, especially, anybody that's been on TV or they're some kind of celebrity. So people think that just because they're on TV that they know everything. And I'm not just talking about people on TV. I'm just saying that it's if you don't have the same beliefs, or maybe you use a different ghost equipment, for example, then you're doing it wrong. Or people argue, this is an orb. No, it's not an orb. And sometimes these fights get so extremely bad where people are hurt. I mean, I'm an example of that. I got very hurt. And these are lives. People get hurt. And just because you don't have the same beliefs, or maybe use the different ghost equipment, or maybe you don't ghost hunt the way that somebody else ghost hunts, or people don't even I don't seriously like the word ghost hunter, actually. I don't even like that word. Even, paranormal investigator maybe, but, I just think that everybody has their own opinions, and for some reason in the paranormal world, in these groups, or maybe somebody that would say, I've been an investigator for this many years, so I know it all, because they've had 35 years experience. I know a lot of people that are just now investigating that have a pretty good head on their shoulders, that just started out. And just because maybe they want to try something new, maybe what they want to try that's new, maybe that will be the big it, maybe you will be able to get or see something paranormal, or, that's how we learn. That's how we evolve. I mean, everything's on apps now. Everything's on the phone now. Things change, and you can't be afraid of change, and can't be afraid to try different things. And who is to judge what's right or wrong anymore? That's what my question is.
I'm going to quickly mention, Annaliesje, that Shauna Valencia is going, Annaliesje's on the radio. Oh, my God, I love her. She's my sister. So she's in the chat room right now. So I just had to get that out. Thank you so much,
I
Shauna.
love her so much. She's pretty incredible. She's actually been at the Shanghai tunnels. She actually lives in Washington. She's pretty amazing. Yeah, she's a very amazing person.
Excellent. Excellent. We will continue it. And later on in the show, I do want to let people know, later on in the show, we're going to do something very rare here. Very, very rare. Extremely rare. Like Halley's Comet comes around more often than when we do this. We're actually going to open up the phone lines later. If you want to talk paranormal with these ladies, we're going to open up the phone lines later, so you have to stay tuned. I'll hand out the number at that point. So it'll be exciting. Yeah, well, we don't beg here, man. We don't beg.
Hey, this is Annaliesje. I don't mind. I'm begging. Please call. I want to talk to you.
Okay. Well, we'll get a few people to call. Joe, stop combing your hair. It's time to pick up the phone and call these ladies here in a little bit. So we'll get to it. I want to get into the whole respect thing for a little bit here, because I think this is important to get into. Are you strictly a female investigative team because you just feel that there isn't enough female teams out there, Ellen?
Well, we sort of have a secret fourth member. We call him the captain. It's actually my guy. He's more of our web PR management, the captain. He just kind of manages things for us. He's behind the scenes, but if he were ever not in school or working full time, he would go on a ghost hunt with us. But I think in general, I mean, it's not all female because we're feminazis or anything. It just happened that way, I think.
Well, and also, not to butt in, but also, it's kind of funny where we met at Shanghai Tunnels. Well, most of us volunteers, there's a couple of men, but most of us are women. It's ironic how many women are volunteers at the Shanghai Tunnels. A lot of the guys don't last. And so, for some reason, as women end up staying, there's only a couple men that are volunteers, but most of us are women, and it just kind of ended up like that. Yeah, if there was a guy that was with us probably at the time, he probably would be with us. But we wanted to kind of be really picky on who we wanted. It's hard to get a group that has the same beliefs and want the same things, and also about history, because that is number one to us.
I would love it if you guys, or your ladies, pardon me, actually took the time to get to know the team of Chronicles of the Unknown. They are actually doing the exact same thing up here in British Columbia on the British Columbia side of the Gold Rush Trail that started in California, went through Nevada, Oregon, Washington, straight through BC and up to the Klondike. They are doing the exact same thing you guys are in order to tell a story of the history of the Gold Rush Trail. And we're going to get more into that a little bit later on, because we have so much to talk about right now in regards to how this team came together. You mentioned that it came together extremely quickly, Ellen. And Renee, I'm going to go over to you here. When the ladies came up and asked you, hey, do you want to join up? We think you'd make a great teammate. How did that go? How did the process of you getting involved with this happen?
Well, actually, I didn't get asked. I'm not really one of those types of people that are want to be involved with the group, and it's not like me to come out of my shell and ask to be a participant in something. And Ani was telling me about the group, and I don't know what it was, but there was something about it that just spoke to me, and I was like, I literally said, I want in. Mm-hmm. And that is so uncharacteristic for me. So again, they didn't ask me, I butted in, but they accepted me. So I guess I'm here for a little while anyway.
Well, I mean, hey, if you got to tag along with some people, you might as well just have some fun with it,
That's the company, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Annaliesje, I'm going to bring you back in here for a moment. How did Haunted Sleepovers come together? I know how you guys kind of decided to do it, but explain what Haunted Sleepovers actually is.
Okay, well, it was, like I said, it was Ellen and I, being volunteers at Shanghai Tunnels, talking to Michael P. Jones. He is the founder of the Shanghai Tunnels. We were kind of Actually, Ellen and I were kind of joking about it. We were like, we were talking about the history, talking about, wouldn't that be cool to have a group again and have a different spin on it? We're both history. Ellen is a school teacher, she teaches, and, big history girl, also has her degree in journalism. So she loves research. She loves, history, as well as I do, I do. And we were just joking around, even talking about our logo. It's like, you'll see our logo soon. It's in the process of being trademarked right now, but it's basically kind of a face with a top hat, because Michael P. Jones wears this top hat, especially on Halloween. And we're inspired by, the ships in Shanghai, so we got the rope, for the Haunted Sleepovers logo. And we already had this image, and actually it was Ellen that came up with the name Haunted Sleepovers, because our intent is we wanted to go to different hotels, really old hotels. We talk about that in our tours, and we're like, well, we need to start staying at these old hotels and, find out the history. We actually are going to be having coffee, which is very rare, with an owner of one of these old hotels. I will mention it later, but I can't do that right now. And she's very hard to talk to, but we got an interview with her. And I know I'll get my way, because that's how I am. I'm a fighter. I'm a talker, and I know she'll let us stay there. But that's kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to go to old cabins, old places. I grew up in Idaho. My dad is actually Alan Trees. He is a gold mining equipment inventor. He's on Outdoors Channel quite a bit. He's always filming with them, and has 85 acres in Idaho with old ghost towns, cemeteries, Chinese cemeteries, etc. So we kind of want to go to these old places and spend the night and research. And so Ellen and I were, that's kind of how it got started. We just wanted something different, but more not just about paranormal and ghost hunting, as you guys call it. I don't like to really call it ghost hunting. But, do investigating. We could still be a paranormal investigator, still use our tools and try to get EVPs, but it's also learning about the history and maybe why they're still with us. What can we do to help these people? And also to talk about it and, raise awareness and, keep, so many of these buildings and history is being lost. That's what's so sad. So we, Ellen and I were just talking about, it's just sad that the history, even the Shanghai tunnels, the tunnels are disappearing. So that's kind of important for us. So that's kind of how it evolved. And we're just very excited. We have a lot of ideas. We're talking to a lot of people. We have networks already looking at us. And when I say networks looking at us, I'm talking about, like I said, it's for history. So anything that can spread the word about history, I will go for that. So kind of that's where we're at right now. We've got a lot of things lined up we're really excited about. So we're ready to dive in. I'm ready to go for it. And I'm loving the history of it and saving buildings and raising awareness. And I'm very excited about this whole thing.
That's excellent. And, I think it's the way you plan on telling the history with the communication. You're not about sending spirits away. You're not about going with clients, are you? Like if somebody all of a sudden asked, hey, I would like you to come investigate my house. Is that kind of what you're focusing on? Or are you more about telling history in the story right now? Ellen?
I think both. I think in certain circumstances, I have cleansed spaces before. I have helped people who've had situations. It's a business that I did for a long time before I found a teaching job. I did it in college. I was a tarot reader in college for money. I have gotten rid of things for people. I don't necessarily think it's necessary all the time. Some can come and go. People who are constantly like, send them to the light. It's just a little redundant. I think we're more focused on history, but we aren't opposed to helping somebody in that manner.
Well, everybody has to have their niche, and there's a lot of groups out there that focus on residential. There's a lot of people who focus on just the paranormal tourism. There's other people who go to the graveyards and try and, just play with spirits. In other words, as I've said on a lot of times on this show, and many people laugh about it when I say this, but there's a lot of Pokemon Go going on in the ghost field right now, and I don't agree with that type of investigation. That's just me. But if you have an angle where you're trying to help tell a story like you ladies are, Renee, I think that's important, because we're losing a lot of history due to technology. We're losing a lot of history due to society being a 24-hour society. And what I see you ladies doing, and please confirm it for me, is trying to relive that history through the spirits who tell you their story.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we're trying to do. By, being able to do that, making contact, I guess that's appropriate to say, we would be able to then share with our audience the experiences that individual may have had and how it played out in history, and how relevant that is in saving our buildings, like I said, our parks, our cemeteries, and just kind of maintaining that history and being able to share that with people. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely a very important aspect of this group. I'd say almost number one part of this group. The paranormal aspect of it is intertwined with that, but we're really, really all focused on being able to preserve and share with the public the history of all these amazing places before we lose this to urban growth and, just like you said, the internet and just people being able to get information quickly, and just not really false information too, as Ani said. But, we're just losing that element of what we learned from our grandparents and our great-grandparents and how our areas were settled and that part of our history. And I think that's really important for all of us to be able to present that to people and, again, raise awareness as far as that goes.
I think that's great, because the awareness is what people need. The awareness, Renee, is what people need to start focusing on, because once they're gone, whether it's an old tavern, whether it's an old hotel, and eventually, unfortunately, in the future, the tunnels will likely collapse. That's just Mother Nature. And when it's gone, it's gone. So how are you, Renee, as a group, documenting what you were doing in your ghost hunts?
Well, you might want to, he's still learning, but well, we document, I'm taking over this one, because remember, Renee has had a lot of paranormal experience as far as investigating. So if you ask us how we're documenting, we actually just got done staying at a hotel, the White Eagle, not too long ago. And what we do is we create reports, which most investigators do. But what we kind of like to do is sometimes we don't like to do a lot of research before. We do some of the research before, but we kind of like to do the investigating, document, and then learn it after. You know how when you learn too much of the history before and then you go into a place and then you start investigating, it creates stuff in your mind to be expected. Meaning, like, let's say somebody had died in the room and they had the history of doing this. Well, when you're staying in that room, you're already thinking about maybe this could happen to you. And so every little thing, you might relate it to that situation. But if you invest in, if you research, a little bit after you already documented what had happened to you, then you can compare your notes. That's kind of the way we've been doing it. I kind of like that. I just think that when people find out too much, or like you said, those tourist places, very famous, haunted, asylum, hospital, they had this happen. So you're expecting that to happen when you go and investigate. Sometimes I think that if you research it maybe after, take your notes, do whatever, then it kind of makes, I don't know, I just think it makes it more legit. It makes it more real. Because, the mind is a funny thing. You can create a lot of things in your mind, or everything is paranormal. This happened. This must be because of this, because they died in this room, if that makes more sense to you.
It does make sense to me. I was able to calculate that one quickly. I'm dialed in tonight.
My first.
I have to tell you, Annaliesje, it's because of the socks I'm wearing that I'm dialed in. Now, for those of you who haven't seen, I have posted the picture in the SOR Space Travelers. I got a pair of socks on that are sharks. Annaliesje, for about a year, has been torturing me on Facebook knowing that I have a fear of sharks. So every shark video and picture that she can find online, she goes and she posted, Dave Scott, careful around this guy, or something along those lines. So tonight I got the game on because I got the shark socks on. Shark socks. It's all good.
Guess what? There was, just like Renee had said, there was actually a shark attack in Cannon Beach in our Oregon coast. And, it was a shark attack, and I was almost going to send that to you. Or remember I always sent you like a love boat, like the boat is sinking, or that cruiser ship, the love boat. Remember that? They were singing that, and it was kind of sweet. And I was like, let's go on a cruise, Dave Scott.
Yeah, no, Dave doesn't do the water. Doesn't do the water at all. Because crap like that happens. It happens. We've seen Jaws take down helicopters and all sorts of boats. There's no way a cruise ship is safe. And now that Megalodon may be out there and taking you down in one giant bite, no, we're not going there. And here it comes. I do have to say this. Thank you, Joe Allgaier. Have you told her about the garden gnomes? I hate the garden gnomes. So now the whole chat rooms are going to start flaring off on their topics about how I have a fear of clowns and garden gnomes. I know it's going to come now. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. I hope you get knots and split ends in your hair. That's just the way it is. Because here it comes. I can just feel it and see it, and I'm not happy about this now because they do this to me every single night, this crew who follows us in the chat rooms. God, I hate them damn garden gnomes.
Well, you know what? I didn't know. I forgot about the gnomes. That's very interesting. What is it about gnomes that they're silent and they just kind of like they're there?
I'll tell you the story about what happened, ladies. And I've mentioned this a couple times recently, but I'll fill you in because I know we have some new listeners tonight. A few years ago, when I was living the dream, being, playing the role of single dad, and I rented a basement suite, which was near my daughter's school, and there was just sometimes some weird stuff happen there. So my daughter, who has been very, very intuitive since about 18, 19 months old, she actually told me she goes, Dad, I need to tell you something. And I'm like, what? She goes, I don't like the garden gnomes in your landlord's garden. And I said, why?
What?
And she swears, and I believe her. I totally believe her. She said, Dad, sometimes in the middle of the night, when I've crawled in with you into bed, and I'm like, yeah. She goes, that's because I'm scared because the garden gnomes, or she would literally hear tapping on her window until she woke up. And then sometimes, because there was a street lamp nearby, it would kind of shine through her light, and you get the shadows that walk by the blinds, and she would see the image of a garden gnome walking by the window. And ever since then, it has literally scared the living crap out of me.
Ew, that's scary.
Yeah. So them little ceramic bastards, they come to life, man. They come to life. Not into that. Not into the garden gnomes at all. You know?
So all of a sudden you wake up and it's sitting on the tail of your bed saying, looking at you like, oh, hi. And then all of a sudden you go in the bathroom and it's standing there in the bathroom. You know how they're just silent looking. They just like stand there.
So it's just the garden gnomes, not fairies or elves.
No, but I can tell you this. My stepdaughter, since we moved north, she has literally almost since night number 1 that we moved into this house and slept here for the first time, she actually has fairies that come to her in her bedroom. And they are
awesome.
all around her. I've never seen them. But sometimes, literally, she has gone in behind our house. We have a green belt with some paths that are mowed down. The deer run through there, foxes, cougars, bears. She's not afraid at all. She is one tough young lady. And
That sounds cute.
she will actually go sit in the, if she needs to meditate or she just needs to do some deep thinking or maybe she's just in a happy mood, she'll go wander off somewhere either in our backyard or into the green belt behind our yard, and she'll just sit there and literally she'll have fairies all surrounding her. And and you know what? I've taken heat on this by saying this before, and I really don't care. But I actually have a video that she actually filmed last winter of a fairy.
What?
Yes.
What do you mean?
I will not bring it out in public because, A, I'm not getting my daughter involved with this paradrama that's out there. And B,
good call.
And B, I am not putting it out there because I do not believe that I want the harassment that goes along with having something so intriguing. Okay, I'm not an editor. I'm not a film guy. I don't know how to use CGI or crap like that. My daughter caught this, and what it looks like is, honestly, it looks like a white fly flying around. But you have to understand, up here in Canada, she filmed this in January, February of this year. And she was dancing around her room, and you know how young girls do with their friends. They record themselves and then they post it on Snapchat or something along those lines. And all of a sudden she came running up to me. She goes, "Dave, I got a fairy on film." And I'm like, "What?" And so she showed me the video, and up in the corner by our window, you can see this thing kind of emanate from the ceiling, go down towards the window, and then do a bunch of zigzagging before taking off again. Now, what a lot of people don't understand here is the winter time up where I am, if we go to Celsius or centigrade for degrees right now, it gets cold. It gets very cold, and I think around that time it was about minus 20, minus 22 degrees. We had about 2.5, 3 feet of snow. Okay. Yeah, you'll freeze out there. And anyways, when it is that cold, there are no bugs. Okay?
Yeah, that's true.
There's no flies, there's no horse flies, there's no ladybugs flying around, there's no nothing. Okay? The bugs are in hibernation or they're dead. Hopefully they're dead. Okay? But they are burrowed into the ground. So I've had people say, "Well, are you sure that's not a fly?" I said, "Look in the window. There's snow there. There are no bugs in the snow." And I've actually sent that video to one person, and that is the gentleman on this show we call the Crypto Guru, Ronald Murphy. And he actually 100% believes that my daughter caught a fairy on film.
She probably did. It sounds like she did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would. It sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
That is an amazing. Yeah. Wow. That is really. I always heard good things about fairies. Mm-hmm. I don't know too much about
There's
that.
good and bad fairies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't they? Some of them cause mischief or something, or I don't know.
They'll take your baby.
They'll take your baby.
the fairies all depends on the person. They can screw with you and they can attack you, or if they feel that you are a part of what they are growing into, they will actually, be very, very kind towards you. If you're good with the environment, if you're good and in respecting things. So it's very interesting how that works, but she sees them every day, and to her it's become nonchalant. Like, she'll sit there at night with her in bed getting ready to go to sleep, and, I'll walk in to say goodnight to her, and then I'll say, hey, what are you doing? She goes, oh, nothing, just staring up at the fairies.
Oh, that's actually that's a cute story.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Exactly. So we only have about 45 seconds here before we have to go to break. I'm going to reintroduce you. We have Annaliesje, Renee, and Ellen from Haunted Sleepovers. They are based out of Portland, Oregon. We've survived 1 hour. There is a huge storm going on the West Coast, so we're hoping we'll get them for the next 2 as well. We'll be right back right after this break.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, news director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there. I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report, and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. in high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. We know Gloria loves that song. As we continue on with Spaced Out Radio tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride. If you're listening in on Revolution Radio, and we got a voicemail system here. Hold on. So you don't hear that on the Spaced Out Radio side. They do hear it on the Revolution Radio side. We have to try and dial back in to the ladies to get them back on the air here. Anyways, if you are listening in on the Revolution Radio side, we do want to remind you that the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Don't worry about the phone that's ringing right now. And yes, you hung up on me. 1 second. Revolution Radio, financed by you. Visit freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. Necrosis is the password. Necrosis. Hey, I'm 2 for 2 without butchering them. Bill Cardwell sets the password every single night. If you're a member of the SOR Space Travelers Club, do me a favor. If someone asks you, hey, what's it for? Your only answer is, exactly. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. You can download this show and others on iTunes, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can join the SOR Space Travelers Club if you haven't just yet. It equates out to about $5 a month. You can check out our music maestro, the guitar god Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Bumblefoot is the official music of this show. Read up on the SOR Spacewire by our news director, Eric Markham. Check out our blogs. And if you've had a weird report, file a SOR Sightlines report. We will get an investigator, Mike Schmidt, to get a hold of you ASAP. Tonight we are talking with the ladies from Haunted Sleepovers out of Portland, Oregon. Annaliesje, Renee, and Ellen are with us, as this is a brand new group that is attracting a lot of attention because they're doing it a little bit differently. They're doing their paranormal investigations to talk about the history of Portland and eventually other places across North America. Ladies, welcome back.
Hey!
Hello.
Now, during the break, you were carving pumpkins?
Actually, I just posted, well, as soon as this thing will post, let me post it. Actually, I'll let you talk to Renee, but I did take a video, and I am posting it on our Haunted Sleepovers Facebook account. I'll let Renee explain that.
Well, I have a different approach to carving pumpkins, and I like to use my power tools. So that's kind of what we were doing over the break. So there's a little video she took of me. So yeah, we're working on it. And I just want to point out, I did wear my safety glasses.
Oh, good, because we wouldn't want you to take a pumpkin seed in the eye. This would be very, very bad timing for that. So the one thing I love about you ladies is you're having a lot of fun. You're enjoying this time together and the investigations together. Ellen, what makes it so fun?
Well, I guess the fact that Ani never stops making us laugh, that's what makes us so fun.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you guys.
Well, it's the friendship inside it. Like last week we went to pick up pumpkins, and we were at this very confusing barn that was playing Christmas music but had Halloween decorations. And Annaliesje's just running around taking pictures, and she's all excited about everything, and there's chickens, and she's excited about the chickens. And the woman looks at me, and she's like, "You guys have been friends for many years, haven't you?" I was like, 2 months. And she was just so confused by my tolerance level of the hyper happy. So I guess it's the friendship is what makes it the best.
And that's important. You all get along. You all kind of check the egos and the attitudes at the door, and you have a goal in mind, and that is to bring that experience of the history of Portland and the Shanghai tunnels to the public's eyes. What is so important, Annaliesje, about the Shanghai tunnels? For the people who may not understand what the Shanghai tunnels are all about, give us a brief history lesson.
Well, you know, the Shanghai tunnels were built by the Chinese, actually. And a little side note, Michael is really itching to call in. He's very excited, by the way. He just says, give the word, and he's going to call. Michael P. Jones is the one that stumbled onto these tunnels when he was only 7 years old. The Shanghai tunnels are here in Portland, Oregon. They were called Shanghai tunnels because actually they were not just built by the Chinese, but that would be one of the first ports that we would go to was Shanghai, China. So therefore we could call it Shanghai tunnels. Us Portlanders, we don't really call it the Shanghai tunnels. That's what a little fact, little trivia there. We actually call it the Portland Underground. That's what we usually call it, but we are known for the Shanghai tunnels. But it was basically men that were Shanghaied. The reason why Shanghai even began was because of what you said, which I'm very excited to maybe one day meet that group that you were just talking about not too long ago, about the group based out in Canada that's kind of like us as far as history, was because of the gold rush. When the gold rush happened in 1849, 1850, you know, people didn't want to work on these ships anymore. They wanted to go find that gold. They wanted to go to California, Alaska. They didn't want to work on a ship. I mean, that was hardcore labor back then. So now this left the sea captains in a lot of trouble because now nobody would work on the ships. So back in the day, men hung around in saloons. That's just what they did. You know, women back then did not go into saloons unless you were working in one. So the Shanghaiers knew this. They were called Shanghaier because they were men that would collect these men for these sea captains. They were known as Shanghaiers. It was very big money back then. So they knew these men, you know, would come into these bars, and so they were like, okay, perfect opportunity. We'll get these guys as drunk as possible. We will lure them by a trap door. We will, collect them in a holding cell. And when the captains are ready, we'll have them go onto a ship. And basically, that's what they did. Portland back in the day was number one, basically, for Shanghai, and San Francisco was a close second. Now, if I were to Shanghai you, Dave Scott, back in the day, I would get about $50 for you. That was a lot of money back then.
I'm worth a hell of a lot more than that now.
Yeah, that was basically $50 back then equates to about $2,500 to $3,000 today. So that's off one person. Can you imagine one person? So these guys split it. A lot of these Shanghaiers ended up buying their own bars. It was such good business. So what's sad about these guys is they were gone for a long time, probably about 3 to 5 years they were gone. These sea captains would make them sign these contracts. If they refused to sign the contracts, they were basically being thrown overboard. So basically they didn't have a choice. And then a lot of these guys that would make it back, if they did make it back, they would come back to having their families being gone, their businesses being gone. A very, very, very sad story. But what's sad about that, we, as volunteers, we try to keep the history alive so everybody knows about it. But like you said, we were talking about the tunnels disappearing. That's a big issue. They are collapsing. 2 weeks ago, we just had another tunnel collapse. And so, every time that happens, they basically fill that tunnel with cement and dirt and fill that tunnel off forever. So it's a big problem, and there's a lot of obstacles, but we just have to do the best we can. That's all you can do. One thing about history is parts of it dies, and that's just nature. But, trying to preserve it as long as we can, that is what we're hoping to do.
And Michael, if you want to call in, I believe you have the phone number. Just feel free to ring on in at any time, and we'll put you right on the air if you don't mind. That would be kind of cool to get Michael from the Shanghai tunnels there. Now, what's that?
I said we are on that.
Renee, what's the feeling like when you go down into the tunnels? Is it dark and dingy? Is it scary? Can you feel that the spirits are there? Give us a description of what it feels like down there.
She's eating. I'm actually eating. I feel really bad. I'm
so
sorry.
I'm starving right now, and that's a lot of nerve right now.
I apologize. They're really yummy tater tots too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ellen, let's get hungry Renee out of here, and let's bring you in. Tell us about what the tunnels are like. The feeling. Is it somber? Can you feel the spirits when you enter into the area? Is there lighting? Is it dark?
So to me, I think it's peaceful. I'm the believer in the concept of if you believe it can't hurt you, then it won't, and it can't. So to me, the tunnels are peaceful because they're dark, they're quiet. I'm in a behavior classroom 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, where people scream obscenities at me. So the tunnels are quiet and peaceful and decent place for me to relax after a work day or when I'm setting up. I don't mind going down in there. I do admit you can feel things. You have to be a skeptic. You don't have to be a hater, but you do have to be a skeptic. You have to stop and question whether something was caused by something above you. You do have to accept that. You can feel them down there. I definitely agree. There are more active nights. There are some nights where we don't experience anything, other nights where one or two things will happen repeatedly. So it's both. I think for many people, it is a very difficult place to be. I have definitely walked people out because they can't handle it, and that's fine. There are people who have different, spiritual compositions. I don't really get drained or affected like that. I don't scream like that or anything. The other day, we had another tour guide coming through with a flashlight, and I kind of thought it was a way too intelligently moving orb, and I went, woo, because I got really excited. That's about all you get out of me.
Excellent. Michael from the Shanghai Tunnels has just joined us. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Just came up from doing a couple of tours tonight. So, in the right frame of mind.
You gave the ladies the night off so they could join me. Thank you so much.
Oh, anytime.
And how were the tunnels tonight? Were they active?
They're extremely active. And, you know, we have such great people that come through on our tours, and that really allows things to take shape. And people got some great photographs of apparitions tonight. And people surprised what they actually was able to capture. My whole problem is being distracted because of shadows. This is a very shadowy night. You know, when I'm doing the tours, I see shadows of people that are not on our tours, that live in the underground, so to speak. And I tend to get distracted. When somebody says, everybody's in, I keep thinking, no, I can still see four people walking behind us. So they're very, very typical for the Shanghai Tunnels. Wow.
Is it that vivid down there when it comes to trying to keep a group together?
Yes. And, you know, well, one of the main things I think that we have the advantage that we're there all the time. And I really believe that the spirits have gotten really used to us and know us. And I think that makes a big difference. And they'll sometimes play tricks on us. And like one of the things that really frustrates me, hasn't happened for a while, but it's like somebody takes this feather that you can't see and starts itching my nose and my face. And I try to resist from scratching, or sometimes you just can't. I try to knock this invisible feather away. Of course, you can't see it, and it doesn't work.
That would be eerie. So when you're seeing shadows, explain to us what you're seeing down there, Mike.
I can't see any faces, but generally it's behind everyone, and it's just very dark shadows, but you can tell that it's a person, or should be a person. And what I do there's this one area by the court booths, when I'm looking south, and you can see the hole in the wall, which there's lights behind the hole in the wall. So it's a very good area to see things. And when I say, somebody says, okay, everyone's in, and I say, are you sure? That means I'm seeing more shadows behind everybody.
And what do you think of these three ladies and what they're doing with haunted sleepovers?
Oh, I think it's very unique, and it's a great idea, and it's something new and refreshing, and you know, I think they'll be very good for the spirits in those places. I mean, they're all very, very good people, and that's the main thing. You know, there's you know, in all different fields, there's good and there's bad, and sometimes in the paranormal field, they're not the best in the world, but these three ladies, I think, are really top notch, and it's going to be good to have them around in this capacity.
Excellent. Excellent. You were about to say?
What I was going to say, and they all are associated with the Shanghai Tunnels. So it's great to have them. And nothing that's happening lately in a museum of the Shanghai Tunnels, things that are taking place there. Now, we always heard noises and things like that, but lately they've been getting photographs of unique things that wasn't there when they snapped the picture. And Annika took a great picture at her first Thursday concert for Human Trafficking Awareness, that's held in a museum in the Shanghai tunnels. And I was interviewing a musician, and right behind me on the curtain, she captured a face.
Wow.
Very unique looking face. Yeah.
Looking right at
what
right.
What was she saying?
I have no idea.
I said it was looking right at Michael. Like, you know, it was in back of this woman that he was interviewing, but the face was looking at Michael, just smiling. Kind of a creepy smile.
Well, you know, I'll tell you this. There's a couple of psychic mediums that I work with. And one is just, I think, really good. Well, they're both really good. But there's one that really has always had the way to really shock me, because she'll go into the underground and tell me things that only I know, and she doesn't know why she's saying those things. And what she says that the spirits there really love what we're doing, and we're telling their stories, their history, where nobody has ever done that before, and they love being around us. And which is really, really neat, I feel, because we work so hard to do a good job to educate people, and now we have the spirits that are appreciating that.
How important is it to try and get continuity down in the tunnels with the spirits, do you think, Michael? Because, as you say, it seems like they're getting to know the ladies and the tour guides, such as yourself, who are out there doing this work, you know, a few nights a week, and they're starting to recognize you. Do you think that it's important for the spirits and the guides to have that continuity?
Oh, yes. I really do. And not to be afraid of when things happen. Because I've had, like, one volunteer who really gets freaked out when things happen. And it's amazing because they're, and this has happened in the past with other volunteers, you know, they're into the paranormal, but when things happen to them, they really freak out. You know, I had this one volunteer. She was there for about a year. Nothing happened. Finally, she's at the hole in the wall setting up, and something taps her on the shoulder. She turns around. There's nothing there. She screams and runs out. And I asked her, I said, well, think about this. You're into the paranormal, and, you know, you're an investigator, and here you have this opportunity with this exchange with this spirit, and you ran out. And she said, I didn't think it was going to happen. So you have to come to the right kind of person who won't freak out.
No kidding. No kidding. How true are the stories down there, Ellen, when it comes to the spirits and the activity that is happening down there? Is it on a nightly basis?
I wouldn't say so, no. I mean, even from a psychic perspective, there are nights where the only thing I really feel is just the residual energy of so many people having moved through there. And what we are forgetting to mention are there were people who lived down there because they were Chinese Americans, and there was a time where they couldn't live above ground. And so there's that energy down there too. So sometimes we're, you know, got to recognize we are just in somebody's temporary home. And so that's a different type of energy that we're dealing with.
That seems really interesting. Very interesting indeed, because one of the things and I want to do is I actually want to get down there and take the tour. And I know a couple of other friends in Portland, and it's funny because you have this city of, 2.5 million people in the city in the vicinity, and yet there's a lot of people there who may have heard about it, but really don't know what the experience is all about. So are you trying hard down there, Michael, to try and get the word and the history of the tunnels into the own community so it's just not an outsider's tourist attraction?
Yeah, but you realize that Portland has this thing about its past. The established Portland doesn't want to recognize the Shanghai that actually took place, or the white slavery, because it represented the bad part of Portland's past, and they're afraid to deal with the past. Unlike San Francisco and their Shanghai, they promote the heck out of it. But Portland is very different. But Portland has always been this way. Always been this way. And it's kind of interesting because we get a lot of word of mouth publicity. We get people from Germany and places like that. And I asked them, a lot of these people, I said, how did you know about the Shanghai tunnels? Oh, my neighbor told me about it. And it's all word of mouth, which is, I think is really, really a good thing. We're kind of flying under the radar of the city, who really doesn't want this promoted at all, but it's still being promoted in their own unique way, and it is drawing people from around the world now.
Mm-hmm. Annaliesje, when you have people coming into your tours, is it kind of exciting to see where everybody is from?
Oh my gosh, that is the most awesome feeling. And, just to talk to them, every person that checks in to one of our tours, we ask them, where are you from? How did you hear about us? And it's so exciting in talking to these people, finding out where they're from and also how they heard about us. We've had people, like Michael was saying, also from Germany, Australia, Holland. The other day we had Holland. Just all over. I mean, it's not just around the U.S. It's all over the world that they've heard of us. And I'm just in awe. And I love, and some of them tell us their stories about what happens in their countries. And they're just very engaged. And, usually after we, have our tours, when our tours are over, these are the people that end up staying to talk to us a little bit longer. How they were so thankful that, a city like us and all our volunteers are keeping the history alive. They love that. A lot of countries say that a lot of their history is disappearing too. It's fun to collaborate. I love it. It's such an amazing thing that I get to be involved in, is being here at the tunnel. It's one of the most important things in my life, and it makes me happy.
Michael, how important is it to try and get the message out about this part of history, whether it's to people outside of the Portland area or whether it's to people, say, visiting from Germany or Australia or Japan?
Well, it's so important because part of this history lies in these other countries, because the ships that came in from these countries would, purchase Shanghai myth. It was interesting. We just had a television crew from Spain come through yesterday. Wanted to film in the Shanghai tunnels because of the stories they had heard, and that was tied to the Spanish ships that purchased Shanghai myth. I think it's real important that we get a little bit of history from all these different people that come through. Several years ago, I had a television crew from China come through, and they were studying the history of the Chinese in Oregon, and their oral history talked about the Shanghai tunnels, so they had to come through and see it. So it's real important. There's so much information out there that we don't know yet about this past, but also we're getting current history. For example, we're getting people from Russia come through, and they say Shanghai is still going on there. They cannot get enough men for the merchant ships today, so they Shanghai them. But once they're aboard ship, they do pay them. But they're forced to stay aboard that ship and work that voyage. And that's modern day.
That's incredible. I had no idea that was still happening. No idea.
Yeah, it's human trafficking. You want to use that blanket term, is happening all over the world in different aspects, and that was a new one on me. To think that was still going on, but I guess life aboard ship, because of the isolation, some of the brutality that takes place today. Probably on the Russian ships, I guess people don't want to go on those ships, so they Shanghai them and force them.
Ladies, when you hear this story of the history of basically, kidnapping men right out of a bar in Portland, taking them through the tunnels down to the docks, and, while they're drunk or passed out, making sure that they are on those ships, how many of those sailors have you had to deal with down there? Are there a lot of them there?
Yes, they are, and that's funny you would say that. A lot of the pictures that we get submitted are pictures of there's a lot of pictures of Shanghaiers. You can obviously tell that it's the Shanghaier. And you feel that. Ellen and I actually get told a lot. There's a lot of psychic mediums that come down in our tours. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was one that said that there's one that follows us. He's a large man and he follows us. Another one that follows us says, she said that he protected us, that he, somebody had said, one medium had told me that to let me know that there's a lot of spirit Shanghaiers that want to hurt me. I mean, this is Annaliesje. That's what they say to me. There is a lot of Shanghaiers spirits down there that want to hurt you. But then a spirit, a very large spirit watches over me. And there's a woman spirit as well, which I believe it's still Nina. But, yeah, I believe there's a lot of Shanghaiers that are still down there, and they're still wanting to Shanghai people. That's how I feel anyway.
Have Michael or Annaliesje, have you ever done a count on how many different spirits have been down there, or is that just an impossible number to try and get to?
Oh, my God.
No, I have never even thought of doing that, to tell you the truth.
Oh my God!
But I probably could list a few of them. Wanted to tell you that lately, what's been happening, some great photographs of full body apparitions have been captured in the Shanghai tunnels. And what's interesting, this one individual that was photographed was dressed in old oilskins, rain gear that the ships they used to use on these old sailing ships. And he was photographed in the underground. It's an amazing picture. Another picture was photographed by the trapdoor. And it's a great photo. And you think, oh, it must be a person, even though no one's there. And you look closely, and he's floating. His feet isn't touching the ground. And a lot of these photographs, you will see that. Their feet is not touching the ground at all.
I think it would be interesting to actually do a head count of these spirits. When you got the ladies down there, taking this a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, we'll get it clicked.
Well, I mean, you could do it. It's much the same way as they do it with other animals or mammals or them damn sharks in the ocean, because everybody's talking sharks now. Thank you, Goutman, in the Space Out Radio chat room for starting that up. Appreciate that. But
that's a great idea.
I think it would be great to try and category who is down there. And
well, I tell you, it's going to be hard. For example, there's a spiritual person that comes from the Warring Springs Indian Reservation. Mm-hmm. And when he comes through, he does a ceremony. And he does a ceremony in this one area where the spirits of those natives who had died being given the diseased blankets are all there. They hang around there. And so there's hundreds there. And then when he goes to this other section by the Wolfhead Tunnel, he does another ceremony there. And he says native people from all over the underground, not just the sections we're in, but all over, will come and hear him sing his songs. So I can ask him, how many do you see? But I love the idea of taking a survey. I love the idea.
Yeah.
Never even thought of it.
Guess who's that?
Okay, who is speaking? Because you were cutting out.
No, that was Annaliesje, and I said, guess he's going to make do that?
Well, as you should. As you should.
Yeah, because some of these we have a good description, and some we have names. I have one that takes care of me by the trapdoor when one of my new volunteers is pulling the trapdoor at the wrong time. And if you don't do it at the right time, you can get hurt. And what's interesting is that she has, and I know it's a woman, because I hear her screaming in my ear, watch out, they're going to pull the trapdoor. And I turn around, and sure enough, they're ready to pull it at the wrong time. So she's helped me about 5 different times.
So do you find then, Ellen, as we bring you back in, do you find when you're down in the tunnels here that there are certain spirits or certain energies that you are starting to recognize around you?
Yeah, a lot of people recognize women crying or babies crying. That's not really something that I recognize. I seem to see the shadow a lot near the boots and near the white flavor cell. I will walk away from that area when I'm setting up, and I'll hear footsteps behind me and turn around, and there's nothing there. I often will be bringing up the back end of a tour, and I'll think I have a straggler by the boots. About three weeks ago, there was a shadow of a man with kind of like a Outback-style hat, and he was sitting cross-legged on the ledge next to where the boots are. And I said, oh, hey, like I thought he was the guy that had been kind of dragging along the back of the tour. And then the shadow kind of shifted and wasn't there. I would say I pick up on those two energies more than a lot of the common energies people talk about.
Annaliesje, how about yourself? Are you starting, because you're down there quite a bit, are you starting to actually recognize the energies or the spirits that are around you?
I have for years, actually. I had an attachment to one of them named Nina. We talk about a ghost spirit. Her name was Nina. She was Klickitat Indian, about 16, 17 years old. She was taken from her family in the Columbia Gorge area, and she was actually taken by white slavers, taken to the Shanghai Tunnels, Portland Underground, where she was sold into prostitution. She worked in about the 1880s, and that's where she worked, and she actually died down there. She was thrown down an elevator shaft to her death because she was trying to help the missionaries. Christian missionaries came through. Old Town was always a place where you were warned to stay out of. And Christian missionaries came through. They were trying to clean up Old Town. They knew about Shanghai. A couple of them befriended her, told her if she would help them get the information that they would need to stop the Shanghai, they would save her. They would help her. Well, she knew she was taking a chance, but she naively gave them the information that they needed, who in turn naively gave the information to the police. And back then, you got to remember, everybody was on the take. Everybody was on the payroll. Shanghai was big business, and they spread it around. So when they dropped Nina's name, that basically sealed her fate, because days later she was thrown down an elevator shaft to her death. Now, growing up, I've always, people always think I'm Native American. I've always had people saying things to me since I was 5 years old. And when I started working in the Shanghai tunnels, I was fine for a couple years until Ghost Adventures came, and I played Nina in Ghost Adventures. And from there on, I was having dreams. I was seeing her in my dreams, seeing her everywhere. I went to school. My classmates would see her. She's definitely with me today. She's always with me. But I've also seen Shanghaiers down there as well. And I think there's a new one lately that I've been feeling like something is going on around the boots. Usually that is a hot spot. We do have a set of boots that were found that were the Shanghaied. And they say there's a portal around there, but I feel like something is new. It's starting to swing our buckets down there, which has never been done before. So I feel like there's something new, a new spirit that's been created, or I don't know how you say it, but I feel like there's something new down there. And it's not a good one.
When you say it's not a good one, is it because it's brand new and maybe just doesn't know the area as of yet, or kind of, lack of a better term, the rules of the tours that go on from the other spirits? Do you think that's what it could be?
Yeah, that I wouldn't rule that out. I would say possibly. It's just whatever it is doesn't seem happy. It doesn't. Maybe they were Shanghaied. I don't know. It just seems a little bit not happy. So you're right. That could be. I mean, I wouldn't rule anything out at all. But there's definitely something new going on. Like Michael was saying, it's been extremely more active than usual the last couple months, where usually we have things happen once in a while. It's been every single month now.
We're going to get to a couple of questions here from our audience. Eric is asking in the Space Out Radio chat room. He's asking, how much negative energy is still trapped down in those tunnels, do you think? And Michael, we'll aim that one at you.
Well, when you come through, you can feel it. Yeah, there is negative energy, but there's another kind of energy, and it's an energy of hope for the future. And a couple of the psychic mediums that have come through have picked up on that, and our tours have a big impact on that. Some of the psychic mediums that come through are really affected heavily. Some cannot even be there more than just a few minutes. It affects them so hard because there's that, what happened to them was human abuse at its worst. It was misery. But now here we come along, and this history has been trapped in the darkness and shadows, and no one wanted to talk about it. They wanted to hide and pretend it never happened. And we come along, and we're this ray of hope, because educating people and making sure that they understand what happened in the past so you don't have it happen in the future. But unfortunately, it is happening today, because Portland kept its evil past hidden, wouldn't talk about it, and today we have human trafficking, which unfortunately, again, is big business, and there's a lot of victims. So I don't know if I answered your question, but there's still negative energy there.
Renee, are you done eating yet?
Renee! Yes, I'm done eating.
Now she's drilling pumpkins.
Yes, our whole audience can hear the tapping that is going on in the background as you're drilling your pumpkins. Make sure you got your goggles on, because safety first.
Yes, of course.
Right. When you have gone down to the tunnels, and I know you're the most inexperienced, so this is why I'm posing this question to you. How do you feel as a newcomer to this, going down into the tunnels, and how, can you feel the energy or the denseness of the air when you're down there?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I haven't actually experienced that yet. I'm going to be participating, going down there very soon, so I haven't had the opportunity that they have. I have, however, done some filming for Michael in working with the awareness for sex trafficking, and that's a very important issue and how it plays in with the Shanghai tunnels. So that's kind of how I came into that part of it. And I'm a little inexperienced on going down there at this point, but I'm looking forward to going down there. Again, I have some great teachers. So, I haven't had that experience yet.
You were sick, though. You were going to go down.
Can I interject something?
Absolutely.
Ani just reminded me of it. Sorry, go ahead.
Michael.
Her nickname is D Street. And the reason is D Street, that she comes from an incredible family of that had this special Northwest rock and roll dance place called D Street or D Street Corral, and it is part of the history of Northwest rock and rock and roll in Portland, Oregon. And her family ran that place, and so I predict, because of all the great music that was created by Paul Revere and the Raiders, the Sonics, Dawn and the Good Times, the Redcoats, all these incredible rock and roll bands from the Northwest, their spirits are still tied to that D Street. And now that that's gone, she's going to carry that with her into the underground. And music is so important in that underground. And I predict she's going to have some great experiences. And she's going to be in our museum quite a bit, Museum of Shanghai Tunnels. And that is another place of spirits. So I'm really looking forward to all the stories she's going to be telling us.
I think she's lucky. Renee, you're lucky. D Street or B. Are we talking Delta or Bravo here?
D as in division. D Street Corral, division.
Okay.
So,
right.
Yeah, it was owned by my great aunt and uncle. It's an incredible history that we have in Portland, Oregon of historic rock and roll. So I'm absolutely looking forward to my experiences and being able to bring that down there, as well as I'm also a musician. So maybe I'll have some extra sensory experiences based upon that. So
I would love for you, Renee, I would love for you to perform in the underground.
I would
really
love that. Yeah, that would be amazing. I think I kind of mentioned that a little bit to Ani and Ellen, so it's kind of been in the back of my mind and in the works that might be something that I could put together. I would really like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, music is such important in all of our lives, and also through history. And we had one volunteer, but she's still with us, Cindy. She went down and played her flute a couple times, and always attracted things towards her. So I think Renee's going to have some interesting experiences on the ground with that.
That would be great.
Well, Renee has a little story about when she was going to take a tour.
Oh, yes. Well, Ani thinks I should tell this story, so
then go for
I'm
it.
going to tell it. Because Ani says I should tell it. So we had made arrangements for me to go down, take a tour, and kind of familiarize myself with everything. And I came down with the worst cold I'd had in years. And it had crossed my mind just ever so slightly that for some reason something was telling me that I shouldn't go down there. And I had called my husband that day and told him, I'm sick. This is awful. I'm not going to make it down to the tunnels. And he goes, well, did you ever think that, something might be telling you not to go down there? And then again, talked to Ani, and she said exactly the same thing. So there was something going on that particular time that I wasn't supposed to go down there for whatever reason. But I'm healed and I'm ready to go. So.
Do you ladies, when you go on an investigation, protect yourself with anything spiritual so that way nothing gets attached to you?
Absolutely.
They get mad at me.
Yeah, I think we all have our own protective rituals that we do. We're trying to initiate Ani a little bit more into that that endeavor.
They think I'm too open.
It's good to be open, but it's good to protect yourself as well. So yes, we all do have some protective rituals that we do.
Michael, another question from Eric coming through. I'm going to direct this one at you here. How much does music change the energy in the tunnels? Does the type of music actually make a difference? Say rock and roll versus country versus classical?
Well, okay, yes, definitely. And I want to reflect on some other music when my friend came through and sang his songs. He's done this 5 times now. It really, oh my God, the feeling in the underground is so amazing. We haven't played rock and roll underground yet. We've done some classical music, some traditional Native American music. One of the things we're going to be doing in our investigations underground is playing different era type of music. Because you remember the Shanghai tunnels were being used, or the Shanghai and Portland started in 1850, went through 1941. So all those different eras of music, we're going to be experimenting to see what that attracts. So it's going to be interesting. But we definitely want to try some rock and roll on the ground to see what that does.
I actually, this is Ellen, and I actually have to confess I've tried rock and roll down there back in August when I was in the news section. I was obviously not violating the rules of noise level for the rich, but I did play some rock and roll. I played The Who, some Green Day. I played some Rolling Stones, some CCR, and it did not make things very happy afterwards. I didn't play it very long. I kept feeling like somebody was standing behind me. I think I got about 4 songs, and I was done. I was over it. It just didn't feel worth it to me because it just felt like somebody was watching me the whole time I was trying to play it. So I just turned it off.
I got a question for you ladies from Joe in the Space Out Radio SOR Space Travelers Club. He is asking, and we'll all get your individual opinions on this. Do you think you ladies think, does your team think that the spirits are drawn to you more because to men you would be less threatening than, say, a male ghost hunter?
I mean, maybe. Or I think it would be more wanting to mess with us, because I doubt their opinion of women has improved greatly since their time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about intimidation so much as their ability, hopefully, to intimidate, because their opinion of females obviously wouldn't have been great at that time.
So do you see a change in the attitude? Do you think that maybe you're treated worse then?
I think so. I don't think they're. What I told you just recently about, I feel like there's a new spirit down there, and I don't think it's happy. And I feel that it doesn't like women, and I just have that feeling. You know how you just sense something. We're taught as human beings to always go with our gut feeling. And the problem is with a lot of us human beings is we don't do that. We go against the gut feeling. And that is what I've been feeling, and Ellen's been feeling, is that something is just not right in that section. Like it's not happy. Maybe it's because we are trying to raise awareness. I am a human trafficking, I'm a survivor. And we have been raising more awareness than ever, especially in our tours. And I feel like a lot of spirits do not like that. They don't like what we're doing.
I think because part of our purpose is to support survivors of abuse. I'm a survivor of domestic abuse. And I think that with that being our purpose, it could be bringing out more angry spirits. I really think that there's a male near the white slave cell that maybe was a Shanghaier, because it just does not feel like a positive energy towards us. I feel safe just because that's my belief system. But I do feel like there's a newer, stronger male energy in that area.
Sticking with the ladies here, Annaliesje, I'll start with you. Have you ever been attacked in the tunnels?
When you say attacked, you mean violently? Like, you know, what kind of level are you talking about?
Well, have you ever been scratched, pushed, kicked, bitten, you know, maybe, you know, had your hair pulled or anything along those lines?
Yes, I've had my hair pulled down there. I've been scratched down there. My butt has been spanked down there, especially in the news protection. Yeah, I've been pushed a couple times. I've heard voices. A little fast little story is this. All of the volunteers witnessed this, but I came down. I always wear my hair in ponytails. You know that. Always wear my hair in ponytails. And I came down, and the minute I came down, I felt this overwhelming. And that's how it is sometimes. Sometimes I go down there and I feel fine. Other times I go down there, I don't feel so fine. And it was one of those times where I didn't feel very good. Went down there, and my right ponytail holder broke in my hair. And I was like, okay, faulty rubber band, whatever. So I put one in, and I'm standing by the booths giving a tour, and it breaks again. And then, so, you know, things pull my hair all the time. I don't think it's anything malicious or anything like that. I think it's more like playing with me. And that same day that I just told you about, you know, getting my rubber band broken, when I went upstairs after giving the tour, I was talking to Cindy, one of our other volunteers. She's a tour guide. As I was talking to her, she actually saw it, and I felt it, and the rubber band broke again. These are new rubber bands. Then when I was talking to another tour guide that same night, Dennis, the other rubber band in my other hair broke in front of him. Then I wrote, and see, things follow you too. You know that, Dave. Things do follow you sometimes. I went home, you know, my hair, and right when I turned on the light, my other rubber band broke in my hair, and the light bulb exploded. And when I say exploded, it was so...
On that note, I'm going to cut you off right there. We're going to get back to it right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with the UFO Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you checked out the SOR Spacewire at spacedoutradio.com yet? Every day we post the latest stories regarding the weird, strange, and completely unbelievable. From cryptid and UFO sightings to the conspiracy world, we tackle it all. Hi there, I'm Eric Markham, Space Out Radio's news director for the SOR Spacewire. And if you have a story, I want to hear it. Email me at news@spaceoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride as we wrap up another week. My bag is packed. Right after this show, I am exiting. I'm going to find my Zen and my Chi in the wilderness. I'll maybe find a nice Sasquatch cave, bed down, grab a Wi-Fi signal so I can listen to Uncle Jimbo, James Tyson, and Elizabeth Anglin on Spaced Out Weekend Saturday and Sunday night. Keep it right here as we do this thing 7 days a week right here on Spaced Out Radio. It's always good to have you along for the ride. We appreciate you taking the time. Remember, if you're a listener on Revolution Radio, you can definitely follow us on this station nightly as well. But if you listen in on the Double R machine, do us a favor, donate today. The reason why is Revolution Radio is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. So do us a favor and throw in a few bucks if you can. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight, necrosis. If you're an SOR space traveler, necrosis is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, as you can have some fun with that on a nightly basis. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can definitely sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. You can also read up on the SOR Space Wire. You can check out a lot of the cool features that we have, including reading our latest blogs, our Music Man Bumblefoot, as that is always a rocking good time, and so much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives and a lot of other stuff. So go with it today. Tonight, for the final time, we bring in Annaliesje, Renee, and Ellen from Haunted Sleepovers. Thank you, ladies, for coming along for the ride.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having us.
I'm having troubles right now getting Michael back on. So, Michael, if you're listening, I'm trying to call you as well. I'm having a Skype issue in regards to it, so I am going to continue trying to connect here. For some reason, Skype is just wanting to be a little bit of a jerk, as it can be at times. So, Michael, I will continue to try and grab you here back on the line, if you don't mind. Ladies, one of the things that is very important is the fact that you are telling some very, very true stories about human trafficking as to the reason that is a huge part of Portland's forbidden history.
Yeah, definitely. It depends on who you talk to, but we're number one in the nation. Currently in the nation, we're number one. San Francisco is a close second. So it's a huge problem.
What happened was when it stopped running underground, it simply went above ground and it went east, particularly along 82nd and further east. As an educator in East Portland, particularly in the high schools, it is very hard to find out you have one of those students who has been trafficked and is trying to get their life back. And they have a particular set of needs that the schools can't take care of. And that's something that very few people in the city realize, that a good portion of the high schoolers in East Portland have either come close to being trafficked or been trafficked in their lifetime, or their parents may have been trafficked, or a sibling.
I'm still amazed that is going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they think that it's so high here in Portland. It's because of our I-5 corridor. We are close to. It's easy to go to Canada. It's easy to go to Mexico, L.A., San Francisco, Vegas as well. We had a tour goer tell us that they had stopped at a rest area off of I-5, and they noticed that they had flyers of awareness for human trafficking. So when I heard that, I myself went to one of these rest areas and did find that they were raising awareness. It was called a highway safety awareness. They just wanted people to know that, human trafficking is a major problem here and what to look out for. They used to they still do, they go for a lot of children, young boys, young girls, young women, but now they're also targeting older women as well. So nobody's really safe.
No, I knew of an instance where a little girl got a new stepfather when she was 8. She thought he was a great stepdad. He'd take her to Walmart, and she got a toy if she played nice with other kids in Walmart. She didn't find out until she was 12 that was because she was luring them away so his brother could grab them and sell them, and when she was 12, they sold her. And for 4 years, she was trafficked until she got out. And she would cry and say she was going to hell because she did that job for her stepdad.
So sad.
Yeah. It is a very real thing out here.
That is really a sad story, ladies, that is going on down there. And where are they taking these women, or even men for that matter?
Well, what they're doing is they're not keeping them here, actually. Some of them do stay here.
Mm-hmm.
But what they do is they move them to other cities. Therefore, they feel that is the best way, because then they can't run back to their families. They can't go home. It's not easy for them to get a hold of anybody. So once they do traffic these people, they usually do not stay in the city that they were trafficked in.
If they keep them in the city, they do so by getting them addicted to something like meth or crack, so that they feel like they can't go back to their families and they have an addiction. Also, it's very common they take their IDs, anything that they have that
well, and it's actually bullying as well. Bullying, meaning, threaten them. Also make sure that they feel like they're less than, that they're not worth anything. So there's many methods to that. It's not just drugs and getting them hooked on that. I mean, that is part of it. But there's other ways of luring them to kind of basically the reason why we got into this whole human trafficking is for a lot of reasons, but one is that we do talk about white slavery in the Shanghai tunnels. Now, white slavery is basically what human trafficking is today. We felt like we can't give tours and talk about the past of white slavery in Shanghai when it still basically happens today. But obviously there's a new name, it's human trafficking. It's not white slavery anymore. So it's just different methods. It's different ways. It's really, nothing's really changed. What's really interesting about that is, like I said, we're about basically number one in human trafficking in Portland, Oregon, and San Francisco is a close second. Well, back in the day, we were number one for Shanghai, and San Francisco was a close second. So nothing's really changed. So, like, there's this new names and there's new methods of doing it, but it's still basically, it's the same. Nothing's really changed. And it's a huge problem, especially in Portland, Oregon. There's no funding. We have one officer in charge. His name's Keith Bickford. So it's really sad. We're number one, and there's no funding.
No funding. We're understaffed.
And they're very understaffed. And also, when victims do come forward, they're discriminated against. They look at their past, trying to contradict everything. And so a lot of people don't come forward because they're worried about either their past or that people won't believe them. And like I said, it's a very sad situation and a huge problem. And it's getting worse, I'm sorry to say, but it's getting really bad.
So how does ghost hunting or investigating the Shanghai tunnels bring attention to this epidemic problem?
Well, first of all, it does, in the Shanghai tunnels, we talk about spirits that are down there. One of them was Nina. She was basically, if you think about it, she was human trafficked. She was taken by white slavers, and she was sold into prostitution. Now, there were what a lot of people don't realize down in the Shanghai tunnels, a lot of women died down there. Shanghai was a big business, so was prostitution. So they needed these white slavers to get these women, to help them Shanghai these men. And so what they would do is, it's a very sad situation, but what they would do is they would kidnap these women. Now, women did not hang around saloons back then. They hung around, they were either home with their families or they went to restaurants, things like that. So they would kidnap these women. Then they would take them to the underground. Now, a lot of these women that were taken in Portland back in the day, in white slavery day, they were not kept here. They were sent to different ports because they didn't want these women to have a support system or go back to their families, kind of like what we talked about before. So what they would do when we would get women from different white slavers, they would put these women in a holding cell, one woman at a time. Now, these holding cells were basically closet size. They didn't get a chair or a light or a bucket for a latrine. And they were in there in that holding cell for about 24 to 48 hours. That was called breaking a woman's spirit. That was enough time to let these women know that they were never going to go back home again. They were never going to see their family, and this is the way it's going to be now. A lot of these women were beaten. So once a woman was into prostitution back in the day, that's where she stayed. If she got pregnant, remember there was no birth control back then, that baby would be born. When baby was old enough to be sold, that child was sold, and they would end up working down there as well. So really, like I said, we felt like we could not do the tours and talk about the past when it was still basically going on today. So as an organization, Cascade Geographic Society, who we volunteer for, which is founded by Michael P. Jones, we have been raising awareness for the past 3 years. So we're pretty proud of it. We've done a lot. We've had a couple events raising money. Renee was just talking about that, but Renee and I, this is Annaliesje, by the way, we have been filming with Michael, doing reenactment scenes for a documentary, Breaking Through the Silence, which is about human trafficking. We're going to be filming more of that in the future. But it's really important to raise this awareness because it's not just Portland, but it's all over the U.S. and actually all over the world. And it's growing. It's huge money for these human traffickers. It's big money. And they're getting really good and clever. They're going to schools, also college career schools. Again, they're not just targeting young women and young men. They're also targeting older women as well.
How many women a year do you think disappear in the Portland area or that are shanghaied?
Well, you got to remember that, back in the day, Shanghai, they were recording just men being shanghaied. Back in the day, it was 1880 to 1941. They were documenting 3,000 people missing a year. That was what could be, and back then, recordings weren't that great. So that is just an idea of how many people were missing a year just out of Portland. Now, a lot of the men and a lot of these women were not Portland residents. That's why it went on for so long. Because a lot of people that came here were drifters, transients, people looking for jobs, and their families were used to them being gone for long periods of time. However, women, they weren't. And so there's not a lot of documentation about how many women were missing, but it was mostly the men that were missing.
That is a very, very scary story because you don't think that in today's day and age that kidnapping and extortion of sorts of people would be continuing in such a modern society. But I guess it's one of those hidden cruelties that happens to a lot of people.
Well, and a lot of victims don't come forward. That's the thing. It's, they're very scared. These guys, are ashamed. They're worried that people aren't going to believe them or, that it was their fault. That's a lot of it. That's their fault. And I even heard some situations that they do try to report it and they don't believe them. That there's, they call the police and they don't believe them. I've heard all these different stories. Since I've been raising awareness and helping with this the last couple of years, I've heard it all. And it's very sad, and they get away with it, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
That is just, like, I'm sitting here, as a father, and I'm thinking, geez, that's my worst nightmare. Is one of my worst nightmares.
Yeah, and, I just came out myself about a month ago. I am a survivor myself. It happened to me 2 years ago. I was actually going to school. After a divorce, I decided to re-educate myself and go to school. And I ended up trying to help this person I met at school, and he ended up human trafficking me. And so I was very lucky, and I got out when I did. Long situation, long story. But, you know, I can really relate to a lot of these women because, you know, I mean, you know that I am a reenactment actress. I do act. I do, you know, I model. And so I was worried that people weren't going to believe me. And so, but that's how, you know, that's how a lot of victims feel, that it was their fault, because I felt like it was my fault, that I didn't pay attention, that, you know, I should have done this, I should have done this. And I was really worried about telling a lot of my family. I lost a lot of friends. But then, you know, I came out about a couple weeks ago to a month ago and told my family, and they were very supportive. My friends have been very supportive. Michael's been very supportive. When I was filming with Ghost Adventures, Aftershocks, Zach and Aaron, all of them were very supportive. We did a documentary, and I feel really good about it. They did change the story, but at the time my human trafficker was alive. He's actually passed away now. And I feel a little safe to talk about it, but it's very hard for me to talk about this still, but I feel still embarrassed and ashamed, but then on the other side of it, I'm pretty proud that I came out, and I feel I'm a very strong person coming out and being honest and trying to help other people. So that makes me feel really good too. And that I don't have to hide anymore and keep this secret anymore.
Well, thank you for sharing that with our audience. I mean, that's something that I didn't even know. And that is very, very powerful for you to make a statement like that, my dear.
Well, and I did it, you know, I knew I was going to talk about this. My group, Renee and Ellen, knew. And I wanted to do this on your show because, you know, we're friends, and, you know, I'm tired of hiding the secret for so long. And, you know, I know it's a private matter, but if I can help another person, I will. And so Michael's been letting me, you know, be one of the advocates, you know, about talking about it and raising awareness and getting out there and just, you know, having victims not be ashamed to come forward. And we all have pasts. We've all done things, and not let that, you know, it's just, we always as a society worry about what people think all the time, you know, but we have souls, and it feels good to be honest and let go and not worry about what people think. And you know what you're saying is the truth, and it feels good just to let it out, you know, because it's very hard to hide a secret like that. And, you know, you're upset, you're depressed, and nobody understands why, because you haven't really been honest why. And especially being a Catholic girl, you know, I was raised very strict Catholic, and, you know, we're taught to do this and do that and not, you know, keep everything inside and, you know, not, you know, put attention toward yourself. And so it just feels really good. I feel like, you know, I'm just very happy right now. And I have this group now, and there's honesty, and, you know, they're cool with me being a survivor and talking about this. And, you know, I'm just really excited that I had this opportunity to tell you and the listeners. And I hope that, you know, everybody will hug their daughters and, you know, tell them maybe my story and just pay attention and, you know, look at the signs out there and educate your daughters. Education is the key right there. They can pose as your boyfriend. They can pose as a celebrity. They can pose as a friend, as a photographer, a talent agent. You know, they're very clever. My trafficker was a specialist in going to all these career colleges, and they knew that these are the places that people are starting over with their lives. They're trying to educate themselves, and they're kind of going through things. And so that's what happened to me. I was going through a divorce. I was down on myself, and they're very good. They all have their gifts on how they traffic people, and you know, that's kind of my story.
You're a brave young lady. Brave young lady. And all of our audience right now is saying we gotta give you a big giant hug from the Spaced Out Radio family in order to, say that we'll take care of you. We'll take care of you here. I think that's a good thing for us to say. You're a brave lady.
Thank you.
Renee, when you hear this story, how does this make you feel?
She's still eating.
Oh my God, really? I'm trying to capture a moment here, and here she is eating pigs in a blanket.
Yes, it's actually vegan. Yeah, I wasn't eating, I swear.
Oh, hold on a second. We don't do vegans on this show. We don't do vegan. Okay, I'm sending you down some Canadian bacon right now. None of that fake stuff. No tofu or kale bacon or any crap like that.
Oh, kale bacon's my favorite.
Oh man. Okay, Ellen, when you hear a story like that, that just hits you right in the feels. And
right.
to be as close to Annaliesje as you are regarding this situation, it kind of brings home a huge message that what you guys or you ladies are doing is very important in telling the stories of the spirits, so hopefully it can translate into what people are doing today.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I'm actually working on a side project now with my best friend, an author named Angeline Fraser, and we are writing something we don't have a title for it. We're calling it The Memoirs right now. And all the proceeds will go towards domestic abuse shelter. And we're going to be creating fictional historical pieces, short stories for a book that'll tell things that could partially be true based on people we find in our historical research. So we're going to take small pieces of history and turn them into short fictional pieces for readers. And when we put that into a book, we're going to sell it on Kindle and on Amazon. And so that all those proceeds will go towards, we're hoping a charity such as a shelter or something that helps get women out of dangerous homes and back into a life of their own. Since for us, that's something very personal, and it does tie into Annaliesje's story. And that's part of the reason we came together, is that we both had this experience where we had turned our lives around. We'd gotten out of these bad situations, and we'd had different experiences, and yet we still had been psychologically manipulated. We'd still been used and mistreated, and so that brought us together as well. And I'm going to be using my books that I write under my pen name, which is Georgiana Crane. My first book, Wicked Satin, is available on Amazon. And all my proceeds from that book I put towards Haunted Sleepovers. So however many books I sell a month on Amazon, I pull that money and I'm putting it towards Haunted Sleepovers. And my next book should be published in November. If I don't publish it soon, my aunt's going to kill me. So that's our goal with our creative work, is to put it back into what we survived.
It is building and building momentum quickly. And earlier on in the show, you were saying, Annaliesje, that your group is attracting a lot of attention in the ghost hunting community, number one, but number two, with some of the connections that happen in television as well. How is that going for you? How does that come along?
Well, at first, when these people have came to us, talking about doing a show here and there, I was actually not happy about it. The reason being is because, yes, I was happy about it, but I wasn't. And I'll say the reason why I wasn't is because I don't want it to be, there's a lot of paranormal shows out there. There's there's so much drama. And I think the only reason why I would love that is because just to get the word out. It's our avenue to get the word out. Not so much we get to be on TV, how it is with a lot of people, or we're going to be pinup models, or we're going to have these pinup zombie looks to us. You know what I mean? It was, so, I mean, I think it's exciting because the funding would be there. So we're kind of in talks with a few networks right now and kind of establishing different scenarios that way. But we'll see. It's exciting. Like I said, I know I sound back and forth on this. The reason why I sound back and forth is because if we get anything like that, I want it to be for the history and for causing or raising some kind of awareness. I just want to be different from what's out there right now, because what I see what's out there right now, I don't like at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I want, our group is legit. There's no fake. There's no, yes, I'm goofy. I will always be goofy. I've been goofy since I was 5 years old. I love making fun of myself. I love being the clown. That's just me. I'm always like that. But there is a what is it called?
I think we all come to the group with a very strong sense of integrity and what we want to represent. And I think that might be a little bit different for everybody in the group, but we all collectively come together in wanting to raise awareness of history and raise awareness of human trafficking, and we all want to give back to society, and we want to prove to be an example that you can achieve these things and promote good things, promote something that you want to be interested in, and give back to your community. So I really feel like I'm working with some really wonderful people that have amazing integrity and want to share with others that their experiences and maintain that.
Renee, are you done eating again?
That was actually me that was talking. So sorry. I should have said this is Renee.
Okay. What is the scariest paranormal story you have had happen to yourself so far?
In the past?
Whenever.
Whenever. Did you say the weirdest or the
scariest?
Scariest. You know, there's different levels of scary. I think for me personally, it's the sensation that I get more than anything else. I've had some energies that have presented themselves to me that have been very oppressive and sad, and I don't normally share this experience, but I had been living in an apartment complex, and prior to that, I'd lived down the street, literally a block from where we had moved, and I had an experience of seeing an entity behind me who was dressed in some type of a sailor captain outfit, and he presented himself to me in kind of a sly manner, and that wasn't so much scary, but what happened was we moved to another area just down the street a couple years later, and I was drawn back to the same site that I had seen that original male entity in that sailor outfit and so forth. And it had pulled me into a tree that was in front of the house. And the vision that was presented to me was of a very, very sad nurse from the 1920s. And somehow that nurse that was the entity in the new house that I was living in was connected to the entity that had presented itself to me at the old place that I was living in. So it wasn't the scariest, but it was definitely the saddest, and almost it was very difficult to recover from that experience. It just overwhelmed me with absolute sadness. And then I'm still kind of a little bit sad thinking about it, kind of making me a little teary-eyed. So I haven't really had scary experiences, but I've had some very oppressive, sad experiences.
Mm-hmm. Ellen, how about yourself? What is the weirdest or the scariest paranormal experience you have had?
Well, I'm from northern Michigan, and I went to college at Central Michigan University, and there's a place called Midland. It's where Midland Dow is, the chemical company that makes all of our cleaning supplies and such. And there's a huge cemetery there, and we knew there was a lot of activity. I had a paranormal group in college, and we went, and we were near the grave of a woman who had been raped and killed a few years before, and we were trying to get EVPs. a red early 90s Astro van pulled into the cemetery and had circled us a few times. As the daughter of a mechanic, I know an early 90s Astro van should have glowing dash lights that illuminate somewhat the face of the driver. I know this because that's what I learned to drive in. And as the car circled us, we could not see any light inside the vehicle. They stopped between us and the woods, and somebody on the passenger side appeared to get out, but we couldn't see because it had gotten too dark. They got back in and began circling us again. So we decided, instead of taking off along the road to run through the headstones, it felt safer. I had a friend with me named Kylie, and she didn't believe in anything. She was the jerk skeptic, but we took her because she was really good at documenting. And as we were running from this van, which is continually circling us and getting closer each time it comes around, she's taking pictures of it. We get back to our cars. The van goes away from us and down into a dip between two parts of the cemetery and never comes out of the valley to exit the cemetery. We did not see it exit the cemetery. That was only one way out where it was. When we got home, Kylie looked at her photos on her, these are the old, bigger digital cameras, and every one that should have had the van in it was white. It was overexposed in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And we never, later, my friend Laura and I went in and we looked at some of the information from the crime, and a red early 90s van had been near the area at the time, but not tied to anything.
Wow.
So if anybody is ever in the mid-Michigan area, I would go to the big Midland Cemetery. Between the Potters Cemetery, the Children's Park, it's a very, very creepy place, and you will get activity, especially in the Asian American section.
That is just crazy talk, having a ghost vehicle disappear in front of you like that, especially to get photographic evidence and not even have it around. Wow.
We should have had 20 photos of that van as it followed us out of the cemetery, and we had none. They were all white.
Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
Annaliesje, how about you? Your scariest or weirdest paranormal story?
I would have to say the rubber band thing. That was quite the issue. I was telling you guys about, like, my rubber bands kept breaking in my hair. And then I told you when I got home, I turned on the light and the light bulb exploded. When I say exploded, it didn't just turn off. You know how they kind of pop and then they stop, right? They stop working. This one actually exploded. My building that I live in is it's 5 years old. It's very new. When I did a work order to have them fix that, he actually had called me, the maintenance guy. He's a really nice guy. He's an older guy. He called me at work, and he was like, yeah, I fixed your light. And he goes, by the way, what did you do? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, in all my years, I've never seen a light bulb explode like that before. He goes, that just doesn't happen. And I was like, I just turned on the light. So that was kind of weird to me. But the weirdest thing is having an attachment. I told you I had an attachment with Nina. And it was so weird that I would see her everywhere. But also when I was going to school a couple of years ago, my classmates would see her. That's the weird thing, which kind of made me feel good because then I kind of knew, I must not be crazy because if they're seeing, I'm seeing her too. So we would talk about Nina. All our lights would die in our room. We would be in the middle of lab. And, the electricity would turn off every time we'd talk about her. Or we'd talk about her and the printer would go off and it would print like 100 of blank pages just out of the blue. And even my instructor would say, would you quit talking about Nina again? It was like everybody knew about Nina.
Oh, wow.
So that was weird. Yeah, it was pretty weird. It was weird for a while. And then also talking about that, when I used to work at Paddock Mansion, which is one of the must-do historical spots in Portland, Oregon. And we were talking about Nina, my boss and I, and we both had saw these marks being drawn on my arm as we're talking about her. So that was weird, too. So, yeah, I almost needed an exorcist on top of that.
That is just crazy. You know, out of all the experiences that I have had personally, I have never had anything explode in front of me, or, you know, I've never been, knock on wood, I've never been, you know, touched or scratched or punched or kicked or bitten or shoved. I feel fortunate about that when I hear a lot of these stories that you as ghost hunters have to go through.
Yeah. I know. You know, it's
just so you know, let
because
me just cut you off here for a second. Just so you know, Annaliesje, Joe in the SOR Space Travelers Club has a really good set of hair, and he's saying my main thinks the rubber band story is scary.
Well, you know, those things don't break. All women know. We women know that have long hair. Renee knows this. Ellen knows this. Girls out there that are listening, if you have long hair and you wear those holders, you know, they're not really rubber bands. They're hair holders. They're ties. They don't break. Even on their last legs, when they're barely, you can see the material kind of breaking down, and you see the gut basically inside of it, it will still hold your hair. It takes a lot for those to break. For a total of 4 of them to break in a night is unheard of. And this is not of a faulty batch of hair bands. These are, I even asked the owner of Hobos who have an extra rubber band, and that rubber band, the actual rubber band, broke. So it was the holders, and then it was the rubber band. And for them to see my hair getting pulled and the rubber band breaking, in a way, all ghost hunters know. I hate that word, ghost hunter, but if you say that, whatever. We always feel uncomfortable sometimes saying this happened to us, right? We have no proof, right? We just say, oh, we saw this. And people are like, yep, sure. But when you have other people see what you're seeing, that is the holy grail right there. That's the holy grail that we all love to do or see. Not just capture it on video and tape, but also have you witness it together is amazing. And it actually feels good inside to a ghost hunter because they feel like, oh my gosh, you know, this wasn't just me. I'm not crazy, blah, blah, blah. You know, they saw it too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Renee just whispered, I think you're still crazy.
Yes. We all tend to think that as well. I'm curious. I'm curious, and I've been trying for the last 40 minutes to try and get Michael back on the line. For some stupid reason, Skype is just acting like an idiot and will not allow me to connect with him. So I do apologize, Michael, if you're listening. It is a major technical problem on this side with Skype, but I've tried probably 25 times literally to try and get him on the air, and it just is not working from some reason. But we'll continue on with the show. There's a lot of paranormal groups out there.
We do have a main announcement, though, at some point.
Absolutely. Let's get to that right now. What is your big announcement for Haunted Sleepovers?
All right. So, you know, all of us love Halloween, right? You love Halloween, don't you, Dave Scott?
Yes.
Do you like Halloween?
Yes, it's one of my favorites, especially when the clowns are out.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's the number one problem here in Portland, Oregon. Renee could vouch for that, or excuse me, Ellen can vouch for that one. Anyway, we do have an announcement, Haunted Sleepovers. Actually, we're going to be running a contest. We're going to start this contest now. But what we're doing is asking people to submit a picture of their pumpkins that are carved. And the one that we pick out that we think is the most creative, we are going to have a big prize. And you can actually win a really good prize. So that's what we're going to be announcing. We're going to start it right now as a contest. We will post more about that probably in the morning because we're going to be tired. But, yeah, we're asking people to submit their pictures of their pumpkins carved. And on Facebook, you can do that on our Haunted Sleepovers Facebook page. It's a pretty good prize, so I wish I could just submit mine and win it. But yeah, that's kind of our big announcement.
That is a really cool idea. And you know what I would like to do, if you don't mind?
What?
I would like to try and tie this into the Spaced Out Radio website. And I will... And I will actually donate one of the books that we have from one of the many authors who have been on this show to the lucky winner. I will do that. And I will also donate a Reiki session from that. And I'll see if I can get a mediumship, a psychic reading donated for that as well.
Oh my gosh, that's so, thank you so much. Yeah. We love giving, and that's one thing that I am so happy about this group. We're givers. We do. We try to give back. You know, I mean, I think it makes us all feel good, and so the prize that we're giving is a feel-good prize, and so thank you so much, because that just adds to it.
We need to let people know that our deadline is Devil's Night. October 30th is your cutoff. I want to announce the winners on Halloween.
Of course, and you know what? On Halloween night, we will actually be doing a live Ouija board session with Karen Dahlman, who is a Ouija board expert, on the show.
Ooh, that would be cool.
And that will also be the night where we could do the draw live on the air.
Oh my gosh, that would be really cool. That would be cool.
Absolutely. So when you guys get pictures, email them to me, and we will get them up on the Spaced Out Radio website. I'll get something built for that right on the front page of the Spaced Out Radio website. So you have it now. We're going to take part in this as well. So if you have a good pumpkin carving out there, take a photo of it, get it to the ladies at Haunted Sleepovers on Facebook, and we will also put it on the Spaced Out Radio website. The ladies are going to make the draw on Halloween night right here on this show.
Yay, that's awesome. And also, if you guys can like our Facebook page, we would like that too.
Wow. Wow, that isn't begging. That isn't begging right there. Uh-huh. No, I think that's Yeah, I think that's a great announcement. I'm curious, because you ladies are taking the historic route of the investigation. There's a lot of competition out there for ghost hunter groups, and there's a lot of competition out there for people wanting television shows. We know it's a very oversaturated market in TV right now. Do you ladies, and Ellen, I'll start with you on this one. Do you believe that if you're going to be... Oh, okay. I wasn't sure, to be honest.
All right.
Do you believe that Ellen, that if you're getting into the paranormal, that you should have some concept of a goal in mind for why you are doing it? Because we see a lot of these groups out there who seem to go spend thousands of dollars on equipment, yet in the end, they have no clue what they are doing with their evidence.
Yeah, I think everybody does need to have a goal in mind. And, you know, there are 15 years of shows now for us to look back on and see where people didn't have the same goal and they were in a group or they were trying to work together. You look back at early European shows and people that came and went in groups, and you realize they didn't have the same goal. And I think that when you are in a situation like this, when you're working in the paranormal field and you're wanting possibly a TV show or some form of publicity, you have to have the same goal, but at the end of the day, you all have to also have the same recognition of, if this doesn't work, I'm good with where I live, who I am, who I'm with, and how I live my life. My life end goal is a cabin in the woods where I don't have to talk to people. So everything I do comes down to that. I might not get there till I'm 70, but that is my life goal. So every littler goal has to get me to that goal. And so what we're doing right now is, it helps me because my focus for my future is history and writing of history and fiction and working with museums and hopefully archaeological digs and getting out of education, working in archival studies. So because our smaller goals play into our bigger goals, I think that's something that makes us strong.
Yeah. Hello? Did we
Yes,
lose him? Did we lose you?
No, you did not
Oh.
lose me. We had another Skype stutter there.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyways, Renee, I'm asking you now.
Yes.
What are you snacking on now? That's the first question.
I'm not eating. You know, this is so. I don't eat that much. This is so crazy.
We all eat that much. That's why we can't be paranormal models.
Yeah, we can never be paranormal models.
Exactly. I guess what I'm asking is, what is your opinion? Should these teams that are out there have some sort of goal or focus in mind rather than just running around trying to play Ghost Hunter or Ghost Investigator or Pokemon Go the way a lot of people are doing it these days?
Yeah, I really don't feel that I am the right person to tell somebody else what they can or can't do. I certainly feel like if somebody has a desire to do that, that's completely up to them. I do want to say that I would hope that they would use caution and that they would use respect and they would use dignity in that process. Overall, I feel like what we're doing has a goal and has a focus, and to me, that's the most important aspect of it. I can't really comment on what other people do because I don't feel like it's something that I have the right to do. But I can tell you that what we're doing and how we're going about it and trying to preserve the historical aspects of different areas is, I think it's really an amazing thing and a common goal. I also like that everybody in this group has something that they're an advocate of. It may not be exactly the same thing, but we're all very into giving back and doing things for the community. So I think we're all focused, and I think we all have a good idea and a good head on our shoulders on what we want. So, yeah, that's kind of my answer in a nutshell.
And
I'm not eating.
Yes.
My mouth wasn't full.
Yes, put the piggy in the blanket down, vegan. Go back to drilling your pumpkins.
I know. There's so many things. I can't even comment on that. There's just so many things that come to mind when you just said that. So I'm going to leave that alone.
This is a family show. You know. Annaliesje, I'll bring you in here to get your opinion on that. And I guess one of the things that I think of when I think of ghost hunting is we have a lot of brilliant people in this field of paranormal. And we talked a little bit earlier about the ego that's involved, and we talked a little bit earlier about the attitudes that are out there. And nobody is coming together, and yes, there's the big chant, paranormal unity. There's even a hashtag about it, but I don't think it's been spread for months. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at here is we have an opportunity with the brain power that is out there to try and solve a lot of mysteries, missing people, how people died. We have the opportunity to find the true answer of, is there proven life after death? Yet we see people running around cemeteries or places that they already know who are haunted, just playing with ghosts. Should there be stricter goals and guidelines for these groups, or should it just be a relaxed game?
Well, I think it's when Renee was talking about how everybody's different and maybe, everybody has their reasons why they do the things they do. And maybe, like I said before, everybody investigates differently or their beliefs are differently. But I think that I don't even know if there's a wrong or way or a wrong or right way of going about it. I mean, everybody's, like I said, everybody's different. I think it comes to respecting what other people, what their feelings are.
maybe you don't investigate the way I investigate, but we can all come together and maybe have different ways of doing this without people bickering and saying what's right or wrong. It's just coming together and say, hey, you know what? I did this avenue and I got this. What do you think of this? And this person, oh, I got this. Well, this kind of fits with what you're doing. It's like nobody really comes together. It's like either it's this or no way. So I think, everybody has their own ways of doing things. And what's sad is we can't just all collaborate together and figure things out. But going to these places are like, oh, well, that's haunted, so we're going to go there. It's like, why are you going there? Are you going because you want to know the history of it? Do you need to preserve this building, or do you want to just go there because it's a touristy thing? And a lot of people say that about Shanghai tunnels. Oh, it's so touristy. But actually, one thing about the Shanghai tunnels is it's a lot of history. It's Portland history. Shanghai happened all over the world, all over the U.S. And so raising awareness, this is the places where the cemetery, oh my gosh, it's a cemetery, so it's haunted, or this mental health hospital, it's haunted, so everybody goes there and they have events. That's another thing is I'm kind of tired of events. Events here, let's all investigate at this event, this event. And where is that money going to? What's going on with that money? Who's getting that money? And what is that money going towards? Sorry, I'm on a soapbox here.
Well, ladies, we only got about 3 minutes left with you tonight. Man, this has flown by. Do you want to give an update here of how people can find your page or your group on social media so that way they can follow you?
Absolutely. It looks like some people on some of the feeds for this conversation are already sharing our link, but we are Haunted Sleepovers on Facebook. We are also on Twitter. We're a little bit more active on Facebook just because Twitter is where I like to go post my rants and not really do anything productive. But you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter. We have an email, hauntedsleepovers@gmail.com. If you want to provide us free room and board for investigating, let us know.
Very cool.
We also have a GoFundMe under Haunted Sleepovers for buying equipment and paying for places to stay.
Very, very nice. And what is the goal as we continue on here to expand? Are we looking at going outside of Portland, maybe into California or Idaho or Washington State or Nevada, maybe even into British Columbia?
Yes, actually we are. Our love is Portland, Oregon, but we're also have, like I said, a lot of networks are looking into us. We've had people wanting us to go to Idaho, Washington, Michigan, Australia, and maybe Canada. Who knows? But yes, as long as there's history and something that we can help out with, yeah, we want to go there, definitely.
Well, you'd make damn sure that you make your way up to Canada. I got enough.
Okay.
I got enough haunted locations up here to show you around. I can do that. Ladies, you hold on for a couple of minutes here. I got to wrap this thing up because my bag is packed. I'm heading out right after this for my Zen, my Chi, my weekend off. So hold on one second. If you're on the Space Out Radio side, you hear Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, wrapping things up for us. Bumblefoot is the official music of SOR. Remember, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Coming up tomorrow night and Sunday, Elizabeth Anglin and James Tyson bring to you Spaced Out Weekend, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, right here at the mighty spacedoutradio.com. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. If you want to listen to this show or any others, you can go to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn, or you can download these shows and any of ours now on iTunes. That's kind of cool. I did that for the first time the other day, saying, what do I sound like? And I was like, oh my God, you're sounding pretty good, man. So we're going to keep this thing going. I will be back in the hot seat in Uncle Jimbo's cabin on Monday night. Chronicles of the Unknown, more paranormal talk. I got a short week this week because on Friday, Uncle Jimbo, James Tyson, a week tonight, will be hosting for me. I'm going down to Concrete, Washington for Forest Moon Paranormal's Paracon. I'm a speaker there. They're taking my speaking virginity. It's going to be awesome. You guys keep well. Have a great weekend. Remember, stay away from the gnomes, the clowns, and if you're in the ocean, sharks do bite. We don't want to see his food. We'll see you all back here on Monday night. Good night, space travelers. I am out.
Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching.